We saw Jimmy Butler in a fur coat tonight. He does not go, targeting a Game 4 return. But who needs Jimmy Butler when you have Gary Payton II, Buddy Hield, and of course, Batman, Steph Curry, doing what he does. Warriors up 2-1 in the series. Let's break this thing down and talk about how the small guys were able to go in there with the trees and not win the rebounding battle, but win on the scoreboard. This is Locked On Dubs.
You are Locked On Warriors.
Stop trying to turn the page on us so fast.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
We got 4 championships.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Every team has a chance if Steph's on the team.
Your team every day.
Round them up, Kolsky. Round them up, baby. Welcome to Locked On Warriors. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game. That's the flagship of the Golden State Warriors. Also covered the team for CBS News Bay Area. Matt Kolsky joins me on the show today, formerly at 95.7 as well, also KNBR. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can check out the show on YouTube. You're hanging out with us, like and subscribe, audio podcast. If you like the show, go ahead and give it a good rating. We very much appreciate it. It takes a few seconds. And also get our free daily newsletter sent to you at lockedondaily.com and support our sponsor today. It's Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. A lot of things to get into. It takes a village. The Warriors role players really stepped up in this one. But it takes Steph Curry first and foremost, and that is where we start off. Down the stretch, it's Curry. It's Gary Payton going with a 9-point stretch that he had himself after really refusing to shoot for large portions of this game. It was brought up on the broadcast. And, Rockets got off to a hot start. Warriors closed the first half on a nice run to pull it within 12-3. And then the second half kind of back and forth. No team ever really separated until the Warriors gave him one of these, little hook. They gave him a little jab, and then they hit him with an uppercut right in the chin. Warriors were maybe not the tougher team, but just as tough today. Hell, I'm going to say it. They were the tougher team today because they're the ones that were on top of the scoreboard. And what a defensive effort, first and foremost. Curry, defense, role players, or just a gritty win. What's the lead on today's show? There's so many you can go with.
It's Steph Curry. I don't think the role players were that good, really, other than, I guess you got to give Gary credit for what he did and post. He shot like garbage, but his defense and rebounding tonight, obviously not things he's specifically known for. That was almost as big as anything. And they did get Gary going, which was great, but quite honestly, that was all Steph. It was Steph drawing double and triple teams and finding a wide open Gary Payton cutting to the rim. It was Steph with that insane spin pass, out to the corner for the three that Gary finally took after turning 2 or 3 of them down.
Give Buddy his credit right now, Kolsky. Before you say another word, say the name Buddy. He was great.
He hit some shots. He hit some shots. And you know what? When Buddy Hield hits shots, this team usually wins. So, I don't want to take anything away from Buddy. He is what he is, and he gives some back. But there's something about, look, this team has kind of always run on joy. And Buddy is joyous.
Vibes team, man.
Buddy is vibes. So it's not that surprising to me that Buddy fits better here than it seems that he has anywhere else. Because everywhere else, he really hasn't, particularly in the playoffs, been able to affect games positively. And tonight, man, he did, So credit to Buddy. But generally, to me, this was all about Steph. Steph Curry is unfreaking believable. He's just the shots he hits. That moment
How many
when he
defensive plays stand out? I mean, the shots obviously, but he had defensive play after defensive play, throwing ahead to Buddy in transition. That's a play there. He had one that one where he had 3 defenders draped all over him, split the triple team, and then goes with a floater off the window. Like who hits that?
Who was it that he just cooked out of their shoes? Was it Jabari Smith? When all of a sudden Jabari Smith got switched on to Steph around the top of the key, and Steph's eyes just got
it was Fred.
No. Different play. And he just
different play. That's how many there were.
He got switched one-on-one, and Jabari Smith is, he's actually a good defender, but he has no chance to defend Steph. And Steph just like dribbled hard, maybe like 5 feet left, and pulled up from the elbow. And by the time he released the shot, Jabari Smith was 10 feet down into the lane, stumbling. It was an incredible Steph night. And when Steph said it himself in the post-game interview, when they had 22 points midway through the second quarter, you're going, Houston isn't very good, but I don't know how the Warriors are going to score enough to win this game, right? And Steph, the answer is Steph. Because fundamentally, when Jimmy Butler is out, these two teams are pretty similar. They can both defend the hell out of you. They're both going to get physical with you. They both want to knock down threes, but like they got a lot of guys that are hit or miss on any given night, right? The difference is Stephen Curry. Steph Curry is on the Warriors, and that is why they won tonight.
Warriors score 100 for the first time in this series, a 104-93 win. Why bury the lead? Point breakdown, it was 36 for Curry. Joining him in double figures, Podziemski 10, 17 for Buddy Hield, and 16 for Gary Payton. But Podziemski had a big shot and got him started with 5 quick ones out of the gate when no one could score for Golden State. Moses Moody had a huge 3 in the second half. Quentin Post only had 2 points in the game, but 12 rebounds, had some contests at the rim. He was awesome. Draymond had his moments. Like, he was non-existent in the first half, but second half, he had some moments there, man.
Oh, defensively, look at it. To me, you look at what happened to the Rockets tonight, and just nobody could get it going. And so many of the their entire starting lineup, had a bad shooting night, with the exception of Dylan Brooks, ironically. But so much of it was at the rim, contested by Draymond. It was Amen Thompson getting downhill, beating somebody on the perimeter, but pulling up 4 feet short of the rim because Draymond was in his face. It was Sengun trying to work in the post against Draymond and failing. The dude, yeah, he had a mediocre offensive night by his standards even. But
he got into a ton of passing lanes.
Man, he was so good defensively. He makes a huge difference. And I think the difference you see is only part of it, because all these dudes, look, Steph Curry had a really good defensive night, but Steph Curry's defense is leveled up by the presence of Draymond Green. Same thing for Podziemski, same thing for all these dudes. He is not unlike Steph, but on the defensive side. Steph makes everybody better because of the remarkable attention he draws on the offensive end of the floor. Draymond makes everybody better because of the remarkable number of things he's able to affect himself defensively on the floor.
When we return, a couple things I want to get into. First, let's kind of chronologically go through the game, break down what happened as the Rockets got off to the big start. Warriors made the push at the end of the first half, and then some of the back-and-play moments that we jotted down from the game that stood out. And then we posed the question, with the Warriors winning a game without Jimmy Butler to go up 2-1 in the series, how big of just a hit is that to the confidence of a young Rockets team? You saw a lot of boneheaded plays from Houston today where it felt like they really just stomped the ball on their foot there. A few plays they threw away that we'll get into. That's all coming up on Locked on Warriors.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, let's tell you about our sponsor, Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and you start building your wealth. Surprising insights. You check the app and you see that you spent $7,000 in the last 2 weeks at Blockbuster. And you're like, but Blockbuster, it doesn't even exist. You budget smarter, you could save more. It's convenient. You can collab with the people you love and share your page with them, personal accounts. It's easy to take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Kolsky, welcome back. Let's get back to the show.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
Let's kind of run through this thing. Fred VanVleet had a much better game. And I keep saying Fleet. Fred VanVleet. 41 minutes he played today. Had 17 points, but had the first 9 of the game for the Houston Rockets. Was playing real good defense on Curry. There's one play, he stole it when Curry was going ISO. Went ahead to Jalen Green for just an unbelievable slam. And you knew Jalen Green was not going for 38 again. Credit Curry, credit the entire Warriors defense for stopping him, as Jalen Green was just 4 of 11 with 9 points. What you can kind of expect, he's very, very hot and cold. When he's hot, he's hot. When he's not, he's not. And today he was not a big factor for them. Şengün, 15 and 11. Thompson had 11 and Dylan Brooks had 13. Jabari Smith Jr. had 12 off the bench. So let's kind of start there with the Rockets. They were able to grab 15 offensive rebounds in the game, but they only scored 93 points. They struggled from the floor 39%. They shoot it pretty well from deep at close to 40%. You mentioned earlier how the Warriors' pressure at the rim was really just a changing moment in this one. How were the Warriors able to not only maintain the lead, but really step on the gas with that last lineup out there that was Buddy Hield, it was Gary Payton, it was Brandon Pajemski, it was Steph Curry, and it was Draymond Green going up against, 6'10", 7 feet, 6'7", 6'5".
Well, I mean, listen, Draymond Green being a monster is some of that. I think they got a little lucky, because one of the things that'll stand out here, if you look at the the footnotes of the box score, second chance points, the Rockets had 15 shot opportunities for second chance points, but only made 5 of them. The Warriors had 13 and hit 7, right? So the Warriors got beaten on the offensive glass and beaten on opportunities for second chance points, but they, 18-11, they beat the Rockets in actually scoring those second chance points. And part of the answer is that on a lot of those offensive rebounds tonight, they missed the second shot too. So
there was one where they had 3 opportunities, and then finally I think Brooks hit it on the 3rd opportunity. Right. And they usually do that. When they get the 3 chances, they'll hit one, because they're yeah.
I mean, the Hornets usually do that. Like, you can't give NBA teams 3 chances at it, and that is something the Warriors still need to worry about. But also, this is not off-brand for the Rockets. Jalen Green had a great game too. And if he goes 1 for 5, 6, 7, however many games this series goes, in good games, it will be better than he has historically done against the Warriors. He doesn't play well against the Dubs for whatever reason. There's a Steph Curry connection. I don't know if that has anything to do with it mentally, but what we saw tonight is much more typical Jalen Green against the Warriors than what we saw the other night when he lit them up. So there's just not, VanVleet, you said it. He was great in the first quarter. He was 4 of 6, 2 of 3 from 3, 3 of 3 from the foul line, had 13 points in the first quarter. Rest of the game, 1 for 8, finished with 17, 4 points. So that's who they are. None of these guys are offensive studs. They do not have one. And the closest thing they have just in terms of ability is probably Şengün, but he's not exactly the guy that you can just go to get buckets repeatedly. You know,
Yeah.
he's a poor
Can you
man's
imagine?
Jokic. He's a fascinating player and very
He
talented.
is. And there's a couple things. Obviously, you could do the hypothetical. The Warriors had a chance to draft him. Can you imagine him on the whole Warriors? Won't spend any time there. But I mean, dude, could you imagine if they would have at the deadline entertained a trade for like a Durant, or in the offseason went after a player like that? Like this team's definitely like a piece away. But as of right now, I think the proof is now in the pudding of how you can beat this team. It's a squad that very rarely breaks 100 points against you, it feels like. So you're always going to be within striking distance. You play physical with them and match their aggressiveness, which was one of Steve Kerr's emphases before the game was, hey, we need to be more aggressive on defense. Felt like they really did that early, set the tone, kind of lost the defensive intensity about late first quarter, some of the second quarter. Curry wasn't playing great. Offense couldn't hit. No one could hit a shot. And I felt like it was just kind of affecting the defensive intensity. And then as soon as the Warriors kind of flipped that, there were some times the Rockets took, 3-5 point leads late, but for the most part, you were never too terrified. That's been the Warriors' calling card and will continue to be their calling card with or without Butler. I mean, this team is, you saw the statistic, like since Butler's emergence, they're the best defensive team in the NBA.
Yeah, and to your point, that they were winning with defense to the extent that they were winning before he got here as well, for the most part. So
Top
they've
10.
they've been a defensive team all year. We've talked about Jerry Stackhouse's contributions all year as the sort of defensive coordinator, and we saw it again tonight. But to be fair, it's easier to defend a team that doesn't have a real dude on offense. That like it's not that easy to contend, and if the Warriors do advance, they will definitely face some dudes in the next round. So then they'll need Jimmy Butler. I do also want to say, I'm gonna hit it for us here, but Drew, I don't know if it was the biggest difference, but Drew is not wrong that the officiating was better today. And I'm not going to say different. I'm going to say better, because to me,
we got to see. We got to watch. And by the way, this is because they do this. They say release the hounds, and they send all the Rockets fans over to our page to comment. So you head on over to Locked On Rockets. Jackson Gatlin, he's probably live right now crying into his coffee. You let him know, Warriors. And not only that, you also see what they're saying about the officiating over there, because I wonder if they think it was a well-called game,
Listen, man, it's Dylan Brooks fouled out because he hacks. He's a hack. Like, Dylan Brooks is the guy that you leave the gym when he shows up to play pickup because you just don't want to deal with it.
You don't want a broken foot. You don't want a torn metatarsal when he lands in your shooting.
That too. But forget even the dirty stuff. As a defender, and he is, I guess, a good defender because he gets away with it. He's just a handsy son of a gun, man. He's all over you, and he dares, as Drew pointed out, and the Rockets in general do this, dare the referees to call it. And they assume, well, you can't call a foul every single possession if my hands are all over the guy every single possession. And frankly, the refs didn't do that tonight. It was still a playoff whistle. The Rockets didn't get brutalized. They just got called for fouls when they fouled people blatantly. And that is really all Steph Curry needs to get going.
It's a part of the storyline, so it's worth a mention, but it's not worth a rant by any means. But Jonathan Kuminga gets the start for the Warriors today, plays 17 minutes. It felt like almost every single one of those minutes was before late in the third quarter. Was nowhere to be found down the stretch. Had 7 points, was -5, the lowest plus-minus on the team. Had some moments in transition, had some plays on offense where he got stripped or got lost, had a assist there, but had a couple of assists, but did not have a single defensive rebound, just one rebound in the game, no steals, no blocks. Look, this is kind of what it is. You would imagine when Jimmy Butler comes back that Kuminga's probably right back to riding the pine. That's just part of the storyline of the season, but I did find it fascinating that he's plucked right back into the starting lineup. It's just like, are we going to have a Kuminga game where the narrative shifts once again to how crucial he is, a member of this team? And that's not really the narrative right now. It's more so Kerr, deferring and going with some of the smaller guys down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about what happened tonight, he I thought played good defense, but he's out of sorts offensively. Like, he's not confident, and you can see it when he drives. He's not just attacking the way he did when he was playing well, even earlier this year.
And you can blame some of that on an ankle, I'm sure. You come
and
back.
Look, you can blame it on any number of things, but to me, like, and people know where I stand on this. I think everyone's sick of me talking about it. So forget even my opinion on what could be there, what the player's potential is. Forget it. It doesn't matter because the coach doesn't want him on the floor.
And apparently at the end of the Nuggets game, Curry didn't either and wanted Guy Santos on the floor.
I mean, whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter. He didn't do anything tonight to like force his way onto the court. I don't know if it was reasonable to expect that given everything, but at the end of the day, he's only playing in emergencies. So for us, like, I think we evaluate the team as it is, which means he's not really a part of it.
That's a very well thought out take, and one that I think every single human being on planet Earth can get behind. It's fair, right? It's a 100% fair take that there really is no reason to badger upon it. They were making a big deal out of it in the NBA Countdown pregame show, saying it's his time to shine. Carmelo Anthony, this is your moment. Are you going to seize it? Whatever. And it's just, as of right now, if Jimmy Butler's back in game 4, you would just expect for him to slide back over to the bench and for it to be a kind of non-story leading into the offseason. But hey, crazier things have happened. Rockets are going to need some wins. Warriors have stolen home court and then some. How do Rockets fans feel right now? How do Warriors fans feel? And how do the hosts of this show feel? We're going to debate coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships. Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, man. So let's pose the question. Warriors now have a 2-1 series lead. You would expect Jimmy Butler to play in game 4, but again, if he's not close to being healthy and Celebrini and company doesn't think he's 90, 95%, you now have potentially the option where you feel pretty good, potentially even taking game 4 without him with the way you played tonight. Overall, how do you feel in this series now? I mean, there was a little bit of recency bias after game 2 where it felt like some of the momentum had shifted to the Rockets. I said not so fast. I said hold up on this show. You took one in Houston, and that's what you were supposed to do. I didn't think the Warriors were going to win this game without Jimmy Butler, personally. I thought the Rockets, you mentioned how the rosters outside of Steph Curry at the top for the Warriors are very similar. I think the Rockets' ancillary pieces are better than the Warriors' ancillary pieces currently. It's just that Steph Curry is so much better than anyone on the Houston Rockets. And please, Houston fans, do not try to come in here and say otherwise. But how do you feel from a biased opinion? Try to keep it as unbiased as possible.
I really don't feel biased. I just don't think the Rockets are just not as good as the Warriors. Like, again, these are pretty evenly matched teams, and one has Steph Curry. End of story. That said, each game without Jimmy Butler they're pretty evenly matched. So you need a great game from you need Steph Curry to be Steph Curry. And I got to say, if the Warriors want to have any prayer moving forward, they got to get this thing over with ASAP, because forgetting whether the Rockets can beat them, the physical toll of playing extra games in this series is not going to help an old and relatively shorthanded in terms of depth team. Now, if they end up playing the Lakers, that's also a relatively old and short team in terms of depth and height. So that's a pretty good matchup for them. But just like, I wouldn't sit Jimmy a minute longer than you have to. So if it's a pain tolerance thing and he wants to play, he's in game 4 for me because I want this thing over in 5. And I think with Jimmy, that becomes a very reasonable goal. Without Jimmy, I think, 6 is a more reasonable goal, and I wouldn't be surprised if it went 7. I still trust the Warriors because they got Steph Curry, but yeah.
And he went into the day with the intention to play, right? Like Butler wasn't cleared.
Sure.
He did. He was questionable heading in. They were going to go through the what do you call it? The observations and the evaluations and everything. And they deemed at that point that he just wasn't ready yet. The bruise was a little too severe. It sounded like it was his mobility. So, because he was walking forward in the ESPN shots with that beautiful coat on. Can we just give the chef's kiss on the Jimmy Butler coat that he walked in with there, sitting on the sidelines like he's at the White Lotus? I mean, it was beautiful stuff. But they said it was a mobility issue there. So we'll see if he comes back in the next one. But it does feel like Warriors have completely stolen momentum in this. Rockets just do not have a go-to guy. It's going to take 25 from Jalen Green or a big effort from Şengün, or Tari's going to have to go off for 20, because you just go through their numbers tonight. And Thompson gives you 11. That's what you kind of expect. Brooks gives you 13, which you kind of expect. Şengün, they're going to need more than 15 from him, and he had 18 shots. He only hit 7 of them in the game. Van Vliet had a good game with 17. Jalen Green, 9's just not enough. Tari, 8, not enough. And then,
their leading scorer, Fred Van Vliet, had 4 points after the first quarter. They don't have the scorers. They just do not have it.
Also, I think a really telling stat, the Rockets get more field goal attempts than anyone. Like, that is what they do. They get so many more shots where you look down at the box score and it's consistently Houston took 84, opposition shot 72. It's that ordeal. They took 86 shots today, did the Rockets. The Warriors took 90. So, bam, that's a telling stat right there. You got more opportunities. That's usually a good sign.
They Warriors won the turnover battle significantly tonight, which is not something we've said a lot this year. So,
first half, it was huge. Swarming, man.
Yeah.
And a lot of self-inflicted wounds. I want to bring up one play real quick, because it was right after Moses Moody had 2 very strong takes to the bucket. And I guess Moody was flexing, whatever, running down the floor. And all of a sudden they call turnover. And it was an unforced turnover to where I still at this point don't even know what the Rockets did in that moment. But I know it was boneheaded because there was no one down there. Do you know which play I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
It was early in the game, but I looked at it as kind of a momentum shifter at that point, because it was like, 5 or 6 Rockets were up, and then next thing you know, Warriors are up 2 after like a 9-0 stretch, but Rockets went up big after that, so I kind of crossed it off the nose. But it was an egregious turnover. Chad, if you can help me out with what actually happened there.
They do make horrible mistakes. And again, like, none of this is unexpected. They don't have a go-to offensive star. He stepped in bounds before throwing it. And they're young. Their best players, other than Van Vliet, if you want to call him one of their best players, they're all very young and very inexperienced and very inconsistent. So, yeah, they do make those mistakes. And the Warriors defense was swarming. They did have a handful of steals. But they won the turnover battle because they didn't turn it over. 15 Rockets turnovers isn't the worst turnover game ever. It's probably average for the NBA on the season. But 10 turnovers by the Warriors is doing a great job of protecting the ball against the team that does not make it easy. So that's something we probably should have mentioned earlier too tonight, is just, for all the struggle they had to score the ball at times, the Warriors got a shot attempt on most of their possessions. And there are nights where things are working a lot better and they're scoring a lot more, where they're not nearly as good at taking care of the ball.
And Jay Billis even pointed that out at one point. I think it was Payton passed up a 3 with like 4 on the shot clock. Billis is like, sometimes you just got to let it fly. Yeah. There's a good chance most turnovers happen right after you pass up the best shot available. So don't do that. Steph Curry, player of the game, 41 minutes. They needed every single one, because in the first half, the team was 0 of 8 and didn't have a single point in the non-Steph Curry moments. So what do? They just play him 41 of the available 48. Curry, 12 of 23, 5 of 13 from 3, 7 of 8 from the charity stripe, had 7 rebounds, 9 assists, so flirting with a triple-double. He had 36 points in the game. Mind you, this is a team that thought they had the secret sauce to shut down Steph coming in. They really did. Amen Thompson, the length, and that havoc that they caused defensively, they thought it was the secret recipe. And as of right now, Curry's gone for 31 and 36. Hey, 37 years old or not, this guy is still a Houston Rockets killer.
Yeah, he is.
So to all the Rockets fans watching this show, sweet
Sorry.
dreams, morning to you. Steph Curry, once again, is a nightmare in those dreams or in your wake.
Yeah,
Also,
and this, remember this? Remember this thing? Remember the Curry stopper?
Oh, yeah.
He was going to be in single digits all series because Amen Thompson's too good. Hey, listen, Amen Thompson is an awesome young player, but there's no such thing as a Steph Curry stopper, my friends. Chuck, we lost you.
Peace, everyone. We end with that.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.